Lauren has always felt something strange. As if her life was a beautiful facade behind which something disgusting was hidden. But she didn't know what. She was 28 when it all fell apart. That morning she received an ordinary letter. A white envelope, nothing special. No return address. She tore it open and saw inside a birth certificate. A name, Lauren Pierce. Mother, Sarah Blackwell. Father, unknown. She dropped the paper on the floor. Her head was pounding. Who the hell is Sarah Blackwell? Her mother's name was Catherine Pierce. Her father was Richard Pierce. They raised her, loved her. Or did they? Her hands trembled as she picked up the document and read it again. It wasn't a mistake. She had been deceived her whole life. Lauren rushed to the phone. She didn't know what to do, but she knew one thing: she would find out the truth. She didn't know how terrible it would be. She called her parents. What does this mean? Her voice trembled. Silence. Mom? Dad? A sigh. And then a quiet, barely audible voice. We wanted to tell you. But we were afraid you would hate us. Her blood ran cold. You are our daughter, Lauren. Don't lie to me. Who is Sarah Blackwell? The mother cried. Then he said the 4 words that rocked her world: your real mother. Lauren froze. The phone went dead. Her head was spinning. She had grown up in love. She believed she knew who she was. She was wrong. But the worst was yet to come. Lauren didn't remember throwing the phone down. How she ran out of the apartment. How she ended up in the car. The only thing that was running through her mind was to find the truth. She typed a name into Google, Sarah Blackwell. A few seconds of waiting and the results appeared before her eyes. The first article, Sarah Blackwell. The woman who went missing 28 years ago. Lauren felt her heart pounding in her chest. Missing? She opened the article. Sarah Blackwell, 22, was last seen in her Seattle home in 1997. She left behind a 3-month-old baby. The police have been unable to find her or explain her disappearance. A 3-month-old baby? That was her. Lauren felt a cold sweat break out on her back. If her mother was missing. So what really happened 28 years ago? One thought pulsed in her head. I've been lied to all my life. She gripped the steering wheel so hard her fingers turned white. How did her parents get it? Why hadn't they ever talked about it? She opened Facebook and started searching. Sarah Blackwell. The results were empty. Then she typed, the disappearance of Sarah Blackwell, 1997. She found an archived criminal case. She opened it. The first sentence knocked the air out of her lungs. The main suspect was Richard Pierce, her father. Her life was falling apart. Lauren quickly realized that every detail of the old documents revealed new secrets. The next lines of the archive file revealed unexpected connections between her parents and the mysterious circumstances of Sarah Blackwell's disappearance. The documents mentioned a date that coincided with the moment when Richard Pierce was in the midst of the events surrounding the disappearance. This coincidence couldn't be a coincidence, and Lauren felt a chill run down her spine. She reread old notes that mentioned secret meetings in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city where Richard met with people for unknown reasons who didn't even mention his name. With each new date, each line containing numerical codes and incomprehensible symbols, a thought was born in her mind. Her life was part of a carefully planned game where all the pieces moved according to someone else's script. One of the documents was an excerpt from the minutes of a meeting of an unknown council which mentioned a code name, Old Wind. This project, as it turned out, concerned experiments with altering human memory and genetics, funded from shadowy sources. Richard obviously had not only a personal but also a professional connection to this ruthless enterprise. Every paragraph of these records seemed to suggest that Lauren was not an accidental victim, but the key to unraveling all these conspiracies. In her childhood memoirs, she recalled being fascinated by stories about spies and conspiracies, but she could never imagine that she herself would become the heroine of such a horrific tale. Now that reality was surpassing any fantasy, fear and anger mingled in her heart. Why had she never been told the truth? Why had every step of her life been carefully thought out and all her secrets kept quiet? The records from the documents suggested that a meeting was to take place soon, the exact time and place of which were recorded. Lauren felt her heart beat faster, realizing that this was her chance to get the last pieces of the puzzle. But each answer raised more questions. One of the lines read, "If Lauren comes to the warehouse, she will witness the final act, the act where all the cards are revealed but none of them belong to her." These words remained a mystery, like an encrypted code that indicated the inevitable disclosure of the case. They touched not only her past but also her future, warning her that every action has a price. Lauren realized that her search for the truth could be dangerous, but her peace of mind had long since left her soul. Every sentence, every number in those documents intertwined into a vast, horrific story that shattered her illusions. She knew that the path to uncovering the secret would require all her efforts and could change everything she knew about herself. But it was the only path to justice, a path she was willing to take, even if every answer would open up even more shocking questions. The documents mentioned a date that coincided with the moment when Richard Pierce was in the midst of the events surrounding the disappearance of Sarah Blackwell. Lauren could hardly believe her eyes when she saw the photos dated the same day. The blurry images, too dark for normal framing, showed a meeting in a remote part of the city, a place where light barely penetrated the thick fog of Seattle's nighttime streets. Her fingers trembled as she reread old notes, sinking deeper into the maze of past events. Richard, her father, clearly had ties to the case. The more she studied the documents, the clearer she realized that after all these years, it seemed that her life had been carefully planned and played out according to a scenario that no one, not even she, could have foreseen. Lauren couldn't stop. She felt that every little thing in these records was a clue. Her hands ached from the constant keystrokes as she plunged into the many files and notes. One of the documents listed a meeting place she had never heard of, an abandoned warehouse in the Bellevue industrial area. Why this place, she asked herself. The information began to coalesce into a single story. It turned out that shortly after Sarah Blackwell's disappearance, Richard Pierce had visited this warehouse several times. It seems that he might have been involved in the organization behind the disappearance. Lauren felt cold drops of sweat trickle down her back. What dark deeds were hidden behind the walls of this abandoned place? She scrolled through a new document that described a suspicious exchange of documents between Richard and unknown individuals identified only by initials. There was a cold, ruthless logic to these entries. No one was left out, even if it was her own family. Lauren merged with the shadows that crept across the room, and each new detail made her question everything she believed in. Who was the real Sarah? Was she just part of a vast conspiracy designed to hide the truth about who Lauren was meant to be? There were too many answers right now, but each one only made the intrigue more intense. She realized that the next stop on her journey was an abandoned warehouse. There, among the dust and ruins, the last fragments of the truth could be preserved. Lauren was filled with determination. She had to go there, even if it meant facing the shadows of the past, looming like a predator in the dark. The echo of the voices of the past forced her to move forward. Her soul cried out for justice, and her heart said it was time to reveal the truth, even if it was brutal. Was she ready to face what was waiting for her in the darkness? The answer remained on the tip of her tongue, hidden in every heartbeat. Lauren hadn't had time to hesitate for a long time. She knew the answer was hidden behind the intimidating walls of an abandoned warehouse in Bellevue. Her car hummed like a living organism in the darkness of the night roads. The streetlights flickered, creating the effect of unexpected shadows jumping in front of her. She stopped at a huge warehouse where a metal door, rusted with time, was half open. The night was cold and foggy, and the air was saturated with the smell of moisture and antiquity. Lauren, like a truth hunter, peered intently into the darkness, where every sound could be a sign of something unknown. She walked along the broken asphalt path, where every step echoed like an echo in an abandoned church. Every detail of this place screamed of past events, of betrayals, of secrets, of countless unknown stories. Her heart was beating fast, like a drum before a battle. Lauren felt that the walls of this warehouse hid not only dust, but also the truth. She opened the door, which creaked under her weight, and entered the dark room. The air was filled with the smell of mold and old paint. Every step she took sounded like a warning that she was approaching the unknown. The flying flashes of light from her flashlight revealed fragments of old documents, destroyed furniture, and the remains of boxes that still bore date stamps and mysterious symbols. Lauren felt her mind fill with new questions. Who were these people? What secrets were hidden behind every stain on the walls? She found strange elements of the archive, left as evidence of ancient gatherings. Schemes and marks were drawn on the walls as if someone was trying to encrypt a message for future generations. Suddenly, one of the documents caught her attention, an old notebook with rusted ink drops where several dates and one name were written, Benjamin Green. Lauren could hardly believe her eyes. This name appeared in several records. Who was Benjamin Green? Could he be connected to the conspiracy that united Richard Pierce and the disappearance of Sarah Blackwell? Each new discovery unraveled a tangle of intrigue and paradox. She carefully turned the pages of her notebook, each word beckoning to her, reminding her that the truth was close. In this frozen space of time, there was no room for error. She had to know what was behind every number, every symbol. Her mind was torn between fear and determination. The further she delved into these mysteries, the clearer it became. Every step along the way could be her last. But Lauren no longer had a choice. Her passion for the truth overwhelmed her fear of the unknown. In the darkest part of the warehouse, among the dust and forgotten things, she saw something that made her heart beat faster. A small box, carefully wrapped in a cloth, lay on the floor like a silent witness to old events. Her hand trembled slightly as she approached it, and a glint of hope and dread flashed in her eyes at the same time. What does this box contain? Could it hold the key to unraveling the whole conspiracy? Lauren felt that every second counted, and every step she took brought her closer to the ultimate truth. And so, as she bent down to open the box, her heart stopped for a moment. Absolute silence reigned in the darkness of the warehouse. Was she ready to reveal what had long been hidden from the world? And would this discovery be the beginning of the end or a new beginning? Lauren took a deep breath of the cold air of the warehouse, feeling her heart race in her chest. Her hand trembled as she gently lifted the box. The air seemed frozen. She opened it slowly, as if afraid to upset the invisible balance. Inside were things that looked like pieces of ancient history, a small envelope sealed with wax, and a few yellowed sheets of paper with handwritten notes. Lauren picked up the envelope. It bore the abbreviation SB. Could these initials belong to Sarah Blackwell? Her emotions were shattered, and she felt an unknown anxiety. She touched the wax lightly with her hand, feeling the cold run down her fingers. Finally, breaking the seal, she pulled out a letter. The first lines instantly mesmerized her. Lauren, my only daughter, if you are reading this, it is time to know the truth. My world has been full of deceit, and now it is time to reveal the secrets that no one should know. The letter was addressed to her, although Lauren never knew she had a connection to Sarah. Every word awakened a waterfall of questions. The document spoke of dark secrets, of Richard Pierce's participation in a mysterious project codenamed Operation New World. This project, as mentioned, was funded from shadowy sources and aimed to experiment with human memory. Was Lauren just a puppet in the hands of powerful forces? Next to the letter, Lauren found another envelope. Opening it, she saw an old photograph. The picture showed a young woman with a look that simultaneously radiated strength and sadness. The face was unfamiliar, but Lauren noticed a familiar gleam in the woman's eyes. A handwritten note next to the photo read, "The most valuable truth is always hidden behind a facade of lies. Find the key that unlocks the door to the past." Her gaze jumped from the photo to the letter, and her mind tried to piece together the scattered pieces of a new puzzle. She carefully turned over the rest of the items in the box and found a small metal key covered in the patina of time, as if it had been created specifically for this one designated lock. Lauren's pulse was racing. Each new item, each word from the letter, added weight to her inner question. What did Operation New World mean, and what was Richard Pierce's role in this whole conspiracy? Her mind screamed that she could no longer go back, because the truth had already begun to break through the layer of lies imposed on her life. Her hands trembled as she carefully picked up the metal key. It was a lightweight yet integral symbol, a symbol of the truth that had been hidden for so long. Lauren captured every detail with her phone, taking notes that might be the only thread that could stitch the scattered pieces of her past together. The light of the flashlight dispelled the darkness around her, revealing old shelves filled with dust and shadows of forgotten days. There was a sense of the unknown in the air, as if every shadow held a secret that Lauren had to uncover. And as she noticed the door in the other part of the warehouse slowly opening, the air thickened. Should she dare to take the next step into the darkness, where answers or perhaps even deeper mysteries awaited her? The door creaked under an invisible force, beckoning her into the abyss of the unknown. Lauren listened to the creak of the door slowly opening and, feeling every muscle tense with the unknown, took a step forward. Her thoughts spread out like the wreckage of an old warehouse. A room opened before her, where the air was saturated with dust and the smell of long-forgotten memories. She walked through a narrow corridor where the walls, covered with graffiti and old photographs, silently testified to years of secrecy. For her part, Lauren held a metal key that now felt like a talisman of truth. Each step she took was difficult, but the determination in her heart pushed her forward. The room that opened up before her was abandoned and broken. Old desks, dusty books, piles of documents stored in plastic boxes, looking as if they were waiting for someone to bring them back to life. Lauren carefully approached a large wooden table with piles of documents, photocopies, and other evidence of the past. She began flipping through the old sheets, each one seemingly screaming about long-forgotten events. On one of the documents, she noticed lines engraved in ink, "Operation New World, a step towards a new beginning." This inscription made her heart beat even faster. At one point, as she was immersed in reading the ancient minutes from a secret committee meeting, she heard a soft rustling somewhere in the corner of the room. Lauren held her breath and leaned over, trying to make out the source of the sound in the gloom. The figure was moving between the shelves, and with each step she felt fear and curiosity mix in her soul. She didn't know if it could be one of her former friends or a threatening representative of the past, but every cell in her body signaled danger. Lauren picked up the key and, gathering all her courage, spoke softly, "Who is it?" The answer came in the form of a barely audible whisper that seemed to emanate from the walls, reminiscent of the voices of those who had long since left this world. The words were indistinct, like sails rustling in a distant storm. Lauren felt her adrenaline rising to the heavens, and her every thought was filled with a question: should she continue on this path, knowing that the truth could be hidden not only by the past but also by mortal danger? She approached the source of the sound, her fingers coldly clutching the key that had become a symbol of hope and at the same time the destructive force of conspiracy. In the darkness of the room, silhouettes of old files appeared, covers with damaged inscriptions that again mentioned the name of Richard Pierce and his connections to mysterious individuals. Lauren saw someone or something quickly disappear into the shadows, as if its consciousness did not allow itself to leave a trace. She knew that time did not stand still here and that every second could be the last. Will this meeting be the opening for a new round of conspiracy, or will it help to reveal the truth that has been hidden under a veil of lies for so long? Feeling an invisible presence, Lauren looked back at the documents in front of her, searching for a connection between the notes and what she had just heard. In her mind, she felt as if every sound, every breath of this old building was trying to convey a message from the past, a message that could change her life forever. Lauren slowly walked over to the opposite wall of the room, where traces of ancient drawings were barely visible, painted over with time. Her eyes focused on the inscriptions, which seemed to be communications from the past, as if left by someone who wanted to convey a final message. Breathlessly, she reached out to one of the folders in the corner and opened it carefully. Inside were reports on Operation New World, on the many meetings and secret negotiations between high-ranking officials who hid their identities under elaborate code names. Every page screamed of the ruthlessness and cold-bloodedness of people capable of manipulating the lives of others. Lines of documents filled with technical data and bizarre formulas hinted at experiments with memory and mind control, where even the individual became just a variable in a big game. Lauren couldn't believe her eyes. Numbers, dates, references to the Old Wind and Benjamin Green began to form a pattern. All of this data indicated that her life was only part of a larger experiment designed by unknown forces seeking to create a new order. This information burned in her mind, intensifying the sense of deception she had never suspected. At that moment, a sound behind her made her turn around. Someone was standing in the shadows of the doorway. His face was invisible, but his gaze was full of determination and anxiety. The person was silently watching her every move. Lauren felt her inner anxiety turn into a state of absolute readiness for action. The hand that held the key tightened even more as a final symbol of her determination to find out the truth. "Who are you?" she wheezed out in a voice that barely managed to overcome her fear. The unknown figure leaned forward as if trying to connect the two pieces of the sinister puzzle. A voice, quiet but full of authority, broke the silence. "You're going too deep, Lauren. Some secrets are better left unsolved." These words mingled with her heartbeat. They reminded her that her own family and past were just a facade for a much deeper conspiracy. The stranger took another step, and Lauren felt a wave of emotions wash over her, from aggression to pity, from curiosity to fear. He continued, "I am a former accomplice of those who created this chaos. My task was to help keep the truth under lock and key. But the time for change has come, and I can no longer be part of the sinful chain." Lauren felt the words awaken a new understanding. Here stood a witness to a dark past who had once participated in the experiments she was just beginning to learn about. The secret he bore was both the key to her own identity and the cause of all those painful memories that turned into confusion. The unknown face stepped forward, approaching the desk with the documents. He handed her a worn notebook with handwritten notes of personal thoughts. "This is your first piece of evidence, Lauren," he said. "It will show you how it all began. But remember, every knowledge has a price." Lauren took the notebook and, as she opened it, felt the words on the pages pulsating with energy, revealing even more secrets. These lines spoke of manipulation, betrayal, and how a person can become a victim of a system they never chose. She realized that her fight for the truth was not only about personal revenge, but also a chance to change the world, to free others from the shackles of lies. With each new page, Lauren felt her determination grow. The secrets of this place were revealed to her, promising answers to questions that had long tormented her soul. However, the voice of the stranger again echoed through her thoughts, "Are you willing to pay the price for the truth?" The echo of these words penetrated her very soul, leaving an invisible scar that warned her that the path to truth would always require the greatest sacrifice. Lauren, holding her breath ominously, sat at a large wooden table, opening the stranger's notebook. The words written in ink almost whispered the truth that penetrated the thickness of time. They spoke of a conspiracy that encompassed not only Lauren's family but also a whole network of influential people who manipulated people's fates to achieve their own goals. "You should know, Lauren, that every action has a price," the first page read, followed by a series of texts that described secret meetings, clandestine schemes, and experiments conducted under the codename Operation New World. This experiment involved not only Richard Pierce but also other high-ranking figures whose identities remained classified. Each sentence was like a hammer blow, shattering the illusions on which Lauren had built her life. She learned about how her own existence was the result of a carefully planned experiment that was supposed to change the genetic structure of the individual. Sign lines indicated that her true biological roots went far beyond the usual framework. It turned out that her adoptive parents were just pieces in a bigger game, and the true record of all events was hidden behind numerous layers of lies and manipulations. Lauren could not believe her eyes. Every detail made it clear that her life was part of a large-scale project in which everything had been planned in advance. The notebook mentioned a date that coincided with an important event, the day her real mother, Sarah Blackwell, went missing. It turned out that the experiment became a trigger for all subsequent events, the foster parents, Richard Pierce, and even the personalities themselves, which were created or changed as part of Operation New World. In every line, you could feel the ruthless logic of those who sought to control people's destinies. Lauren read descriptions of meetings where decisions were made that could change the fate of hundreds of people. Names she had never heard before were mentioned, but their influence was felt even through the cold text. The stranger had appeared as if to give her the last piece of the puzzle, and now her mind was filled with doubts. Who else was behind it all? The silence of the room deepened, and only the dull sound of her heartbeat reminded her of reality. Lauren felt as if every word in the notebook opened the door to a world where there was too much truth and even more lies. She realized that each disclosure was fraught with danger, and that this knowledge could be both a weapon and a key to liberation. As she slowly turned the next page, the light of the flashlight flickered, and the room was once again pitch black. Her thoughts drifted between a desire to know more and a fear of what she might find out. The echo of the stranger's voice brought her attention back. "Are you ready to go on when every answer leads to more uncertainty?" Lauren took a deep breath. She realized that she could not turn back. The truth had already been revealed, and she was ready to face any consequences. Despite her fear, her determination burned even brighter, because in each line of the notebook she found not only the past, but also hope for the future, where each disclosure could be a step toward change. The light of the flashlight reflected off the old walls, and every shadow looked like a silent witness to this epical event. Lauren knew that the answers she was looking for might be painful, but they were the only way to free herself from the shackles of deception that had haunted her soul for so long. Lauren felt her heart beat faster. The words in the notebook didn't just reveal the truth, they tore her reality apart. Everything she believed in was part of someone's experiment. Her life was not an accident. Her upbringing was not just the care of her foster parents. It was control. It was manipulation. Suddenly she heard a soft ticking sound that sent shivers down her spine. Lauren jerked her head up. The flashlight flickered, casting ghostly shadows on the walls. Someone was there. She carefully closed the notebook and picked it up, trying to collect her thoughts. The room was eerily silent. Only her breathing seemed too loud. Suddenly, the door she had entered through slammed shut with a clanking sound. Lauren froze. She knew she was no longer alone. "Come out!" she called out into the darkness, trying to suppress the fear in her voice. There was no response, only a heavy silence. But then she heard footsteps. Slow, steady footsteps. They were getting closer. Lauren felt her fingers clenching the notebook as if it were her only defense. She turned toward the sound and saw a silhouette. Tall, massive, he stepped out of the shadows, and his voice, low and cold, cut through the air. "You weren't supposed to know." Lauren took a step back, looking for a way out, but the man blocked the door. His face was hidden in the semi-darkness, but his eyes dark, cold, ruthless bore right into her. "Who are you?" she asked, gulping for air. "Someone who knows when to stop," he replied, slowly pulling something out of his pocket. In that instant, Lauren realized she had no choice. She had to act, and she had to act fast. Laura instantly realized that her life was a tangled maze of lies and danger. The man standing in front of her moved slowly, but his intent was clear: to stop her at any cost. "You don't know what you're dealing with?" he said coldly, pulling a metal gadget from his pocket that emitted a low, buzzing sound like an alarm. Lauren felt her pulse beat faster. She instantly assessed the situation. Without the notebook and all the evidence she had gathered, her chance to uncover the truth might be gone once and for all. "What do you mean?" Her voice was shaky, but she sounded determined. The man smiled slightly, like a demon enjoying a game of cat and mouse. His eyes shone with fierce confidence. "Did you believe you could change this world without knowing its rules? The rules of this conspiracy are as old as time. You have discovered too much, Lauren, and now you are a threat to those who hold power over this mysterious experiment." Lauren stepped backward, feeling the walls of the room closing in around her. Her mind was literally screaming, "Run!" But her every move was stopped by the fear of the unknown that stood beside her. "You shouldn't have sought the truth," he continued, leaning closer. His voice became even deeper, filled with contempt and pain. "Now your life is in our hands." Lauren realized that every second counted. Her hand, still clutching the notebook, suddenly felt cold as she sensed the man's gadget transmitting a game-changing signal. She looked up to see the alarm lights flashing in the corner of the room, casting a strange glare on the aggressor's face. Determination lit up her eyes. She knew there was no way to escape, but fighting was the only way. Recalling all the clues from her notebook, Lauren quickly thought of a plan. If she could use this chaos to her advantage, she could push out her fear and reveal the truth that so many people wanted to know. "I'm not going down without a fight," she said, as if summoning fate. At that moment, an unexpected twist occurred. Another shadow appeared behind the man, moving quietly among the old documents. An unknown voice, filled with deep determination, rushed into the room. "Let her go." The man bent down, his face carved in an intense journey of emotions. The opponent who appeared from the shadows wore a dark jacket with a recognizable American ruggedness. His name, though still a mystery, echoed with stories of former agents and rebels who had rejected the system. Lauren didn't know who to trust, whether this was a new ally or just another element of the conspiracy. But the voice in the darkness filled her with hope, and she decided to act. Every second drew her deeper into the whirlwind of events, where truth and lies intertwined in a deadly dance. She knew that this moment would be a turning point. The truth is unstoppable, and even the darkest secrets will one day see the light. Lauren summoned all her strength, prepared for a fight that would change not only her fate, but the fate of all those who suffered at the hands of the conspiracy. "Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice both determined and full of suspicion. The unknown agent leaned toward her, his gaze meeting hers like a promise of a joint struggle against the prevailing system. "Because I was once a seeker of truth, too," he whispered, his words announcing the beginning of a new era in which everyone would have to defend their right to know. The light of the alarm danced on the walls, breaking the darkness, and Lauren felt fear and determination merge into one powerful stream. Her future was uncertain, but now, in this whirlwind of events, she was ready to take the next step that would make those who hide the truth cringe. Lauren was breathing heavily, her heart pounding in her chest as if trying to escape a trap. The dark figure in front of her remained motionless, but the look in her new ally's eyes made her realize that this was a chance, and it was her only one. The man who had threatened her a few seconds ago slowly turned his head toward the stranger. "Daniel," he said, clutching the gadget in his hand, "you're sticking your nose in again." The stranger, who was called Daniel, remained unmoved. His eyes narrowed, and his hand slowly slid into his leather jacket pocket. "You know damn well I can't stand by when they cross the line." His voice was calm, but it was full of menace. Lauren didn't understand what was happening, but she felt the situation was about to explode. She clutched the notebook tighter. This was her only evidence, her only chance to get out of this crazy game alive. The man in the dark suit, her opponent, took a step forward. "She's not your problem, Daniel. She's part of the experiment. And you know it." Lauren shuddered. The word experiment echoed in her head. Daniel hesitated for a moment but then abruptly pulled something shiny out of his pocket. It was not a weapon but a small device that looked like a flash drive. If it's so important, he said, I think you'll be interested in this file, too. Lauren couldn't believe her eyes. Daniel was holding something that could be part of the puzzle, part of the truth she had been trying so hard to find. But the main question remained the same. Would she live to see the moment when she could find out? Lauren felt everything around her freeze. The tension in the room was so thick you could cut through it with a knife. A man in a dark suit clutched a gadget in his hand, his jaw clenched and his eyes blazing with rage. What is this? He asked coldly, glancing at the flash drive in Daniel's hand. Daniel took his time answering. It's a key, he said, smiling ironically, the key to all the lies you've been trying to hide. Lauren held her breath. What if this flash drive held even more answers? What if it could change everything? Put it on the table, the man in the suit ordered, taking another step forward. Daniel shook his head. No, man, he said quietly. That's not how it works. And suddenly he threw the flash drive at Lauren. Catch. Lauren instinctively reached out and the device hit her palms. At the same moment, the man in the suit rushed forward, trying to grab it out of her hands. But Lauren was already running. She jumped up from the table and ran for the door, clutching the flash drive and notebook. A fight broke out behind her, the sound of blows, hoarse gasps, the crash of furniture falling to the floor. She ran down the dark corridor, not looking back. She needed a way out. She needed time. She needed the truth. And she would get it by any means necessary. Lauren ran, feeling the cold air piercing her lungs. The corridor seemed endless, but she kept running. Behind her, she heard screams, heavy footsteps, and the sound of a struggle. Suddenly, she saw a metal door ahead. She rushed to it, pulled the handle, it was locked. Shit! She whispered, looking around for another way. Behind her, she heard quick footsteps. Someone was following her. She looked frantically around the walls and spotted an air vent near the floor. With all her strength, she kicked the grate, then again and again. The metal gave way and she quickly crawled inside. It was cramped, dark and stuffy inside, but she kept crawling. Suddenly, she heard a dull thud from behind her. She's here, she heard from behind her. Lauren didn't think, didn't doubt. She just kept going, feeling the adrenaline rushing through her blood. A light appeared ahead. The exit. She accelerated, stuck her head out of the vent and found herself on the roof. The wind whipped her face. Below her was the street, distant lights, a night city that had no idea what was happening right now. Behind her, she could hear her pursuers approaching. She looked down. The only way out was to jump. It was a risk, but it was all she had left. She took a deep breath and jumped. Lauren flew down, the wind whistling in her ears, her heart pounding furiously in her chest. She didn't know if she would survive, but she had no choice. A brutal impact. Her body slammed into a huge trash can, the metal vibrating with the impact. It hurt, but she was alive. She breathed heavily, trying to gather her thoughts. The flash drive. She clutched it in her fist. She heard shouts from above. Her pursuers had seen her. Look for her. Wasting no time, Lauren jumped out of the container and ran deep into the dark alley. She needed a safe place to hide. But most importantly, she needed to see what was on that flash drive. If it was the truth that had been hidden from her all her life, then tonight would be the beginning of the end of all her fears. Or the beginning of an even greater nightmare. Lauren raced through dark alleys, clutching the flash drive as if it were her heart being ripped from her chest. She didn't know how much time she had, but she knew one thing: if they found her, it was over. She knew only one place she could go. Jenny. They'd been friends since college. Lauren trusted her because Jenny was the only person who had never lied to her. The door to her apartment opened at the first knock. Lauren, what happened to you? Jenny's eyes widened in shock as she saw her friend covered in scratches, dirty and stuffed. I need your laptop now. Lauren stormed in, slamming the door behind her. Jenny didn't argue. She just nodded and opened her MacBook. Lauren inserted the flash drive. The screen flickered for a few seconds. It was booting up. A single folder opened, titled Project Echo. Lauren's breath caught in her throat. She clicked on the file. A list of names appeared on the screen. Over 200 people. Dates of birth. Places of adoption. Notes. Opposite her name was written, Subject 86. Control experiment. Successful integration. Lauren felt her hands tremble. Oh my God, Jenny whispered, staring at the screen. Is this a human experiment? Lauren swallowed the lump in her throat. They've been controlling my life since the beginning. But why? She continued to scroll through the files. And when she saw the next document, her breath caught in her throat. Her real name wasn't Lauren Bailey. And she wasn't the only one. Lauren felt the floor slipping from under her feet. She looked at the screen at her real name, which she had never heard before. Subject number 86, Natalia Williams. Her heart was pounding. This is impossible. Lauren. I mean, Natalia. Jenny whispered uncertainly. Don't call me that. Lauren replied sharply, her voice trembling. It's not me. She barely forced herself to continue reading. Date of birth, June 27, 1993. Place of birth, unknown. Echo Project, started in 1993 to create perfect citizens through a system of controlled adoption. Lauren shuddered. Controlled adoption. She had been raised, nurtured, shaped to be what they wanted her to be. Her entire life was a carefully planned experiment. This can't be true. She whispered, but deep down she knew it was. She swallowed the lump in her throat and continued to scroll through the file. Suddenly another name appeared before her eyes. Subject 85, Daniel Hart. Her eyes widened. Daniel. She gasped. Jenny looked at her. Is this the guy who helped you? Lauren nodded. He's part of this experiment too. She quickly opened his file and what she saw made her heart sink. Subject 85 realized the truth and tried to escape. Now he is the main threat to the project. Suddenly footsteps were heard outside. Jenny jumped up. Someone's coming. Lauren quickly pulled out the flash drive and grabbed Jenny's hand. Now. The doorknob slowly began to turn. The door began to open. Lauren grabbed Jenny's hand and rushed to the back door. Who is it? Jenny whispered, looking back. I don't want to check. Lauren exhaled, opening the back door. Heavy footsteps sounded behind her. Lauren. A familiar voice sounded. She turned around. Daniel stood before her. Bloodied but alive. We don't have much time. His voice was serious. They're coming for you. Lauren clutched the flash drive. I know. You saw everything? She nodded. They've been playing us our whole lives. I'm an experiment, Daniel. So are you. Daniel clenched his fists. I know. And they won't stop until they've destroyed all the evidence. He pulled out his cell phone and dialed something quickly. What are you doing? Jenny asked. Sending files to the network. If they want to erase us, we'll make sure the whole world knows about it. Lauren felt hope come over her. This was her chance. Her chance to break out of this game and destroy those who had created it. Suddenly, loud footsteps were heard behind her. They're here. Daniel grabbed Lauren's arm. Run. She didn't look back. She would never be their puppet again. And this time she would prove it.